So good morning. How are you doing?
Great morning, Elliot. I'm doing great.
Thank you for coming into Colorado.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you for having me.
Outstanding. So you've had a busy week.
Oh, it was very busy, but it was very, very rewarding.
Yes. So you went to the Potomac this week,
That's correct.
and I'm pretty sure I watched a video of you and Mr. Yates pulling arguably one of the biggest, most beautiful kwakus I've ever seen out of his pond
Yes.
and bagging it up.
Yes, absolutely.
Did you sell him the grand champion?
Well, yes, that koi won the grand champion, yes.
Now, I also saw that Mr. Jason Yates, the week before, or 2 weeks before, excuse me, at the Tri-State, with a different fish, won the grand champion.
Yes,
And that was also a fish that he got through you.
that's correct.
So, two of the biggest shows in the United States, and both of the grand champions came from Kodama.
Yes, I'm very fortunate with that.
So let me ask you a question about that. Obviously, there's a million places that people can get koi fish. They can buy them anywhere. How do you pick some of these grand champions, and how do you, I mean, is every fish you pick a grand champion, or is it just one of these ones where you got lucky and you know how to find the great ones?
Well, I guess I can find whatever customer requests. You know, if they want me to find this type of koi for this budget, I can always find it. If a lot of times, you know, a customer asks me to find a future grand champion, so I was, you know, hunt for potential 2 years old, 3 years old. So, you know, whatever they want me to find, I can find them.
That's awesome. So obviously, you know, we were kind of talking briefly. You've lived in the United States now, or lived in Hawaii for 23 years?
23 years. Yes, I came to this country 2000.
How many times have you been back to Japan shopping for fish?
Oh, that's a great question. I've been going back and forth 23 years, say at least 100 times.
Wow. Now, obviously people can buy fish wherever they want.
Sure,
There's lots of dealers, lots of brokers out there. Why, what skills, why would people want to buy fish from you? What skills do you have that the guy up the street from here that's just buying fish, PetSmart, why is it different getting fish from you?
Expertise, experience, relationship with the breeders. I mean, luckily, you know, this is not something that I started. My father started more than 50 years ago. So we have a history with the breeders for over 50 years. So we have a very strong bonds or connections with them. I mean, I'm a dealer, I'm not a breeder. So I cannot breed koi, but I know which breeder to go to find what type of koi. And then, you know, they know us, they trust us. So it's easier for us to find what the customer's looking for. So that really is a big difference.
So when I go out and I go looking for fish, I mean, obviously it's kind of like finding a needle in a haystack. You go to a koi place, and it doesn't matter which place you go to, and there's thousands of fish in there. How do you like sort through them, and how do you pick? What do you look for? What are you trying to find that really looks like a great fish to you? Are you looking for specific things that customers are looking for? Are you looking for certain colors? What do you look for when you get out there? I mean, obviously 23 years in the business, you've got a pretty sharp eye for finding good fish, huh?
Well, I try to have the eyes, you know. It's really a lifetime studying of koi. And yes, I do always have the list of koi that customer want me to find. It's in my back of my brain, but when I try to see ponds at the breeders, I just try to see what, I mean, I don't know how I can put it. I know the price range, for example, of this pond, and then I try to find the value, you know, I mean, within, so I try, when I try to look for koi, I always try to be open mind. You know, if I'm looking for only kohaku, then there might be a really nice showa, very valuable showa, but I may overlook at it. So when I look at the pond, I try to be open mind. I try to find a good koi. that has the potential. Well, if I'm looking at the young koi, I'm looking for something that has a great, strong body conformation that can, grow big. And of course, each different variety has a different features, so you have to know all that. So having that in mind, try to find the koi with the potential and the koi that has all the features.
That's right.
So,
Perfect. So when, out of curiosity, just because I love geeking out on koi, how many fish would you estimate in the 23 years that you've been importing fish? If you had to guess how many fish you have imported over 23 years?
Oh my God.
I mean, would you say 20 to 30,000 a year?
Yes, minimum. I usually buy 20 to 30,000 koi a year, sometimes by 20. So
my math skills aren't great, but I'm
not
pretty
either.
I'm pretty
400,000, yeah, or 500,000,
so
yeah,
a half a million fish.
Yeah.
So obviously, looking at a 500,000 fish,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've looked at what I thought was a lot of fish, and I've
Mm-hmm.
probably looked at 5,000 or 6,000.
Uh-huh.
Looking at a 500,000 fish, does it give you a skill set or a one-up compared to other people that go to Japan and look at fish?
Well, definitely, that's what the experience is. You have, the more the better.
Okay.
And of course, for me to buy, say, 500,000 koi, I'm probably looking at 5 million koi to select 500,000.
Yeah.
And everything is mostly handpicked. So we go to Japan, buy 500,000 for over 20 years. So yeah, I've been through a lot. So at least, I'm pretty well exposed to koi.
That's it. So if you had to share, I realize with all this experience, there's people that are new. I've only been in it for a few years. What's the one great piece of advice? Like if you were going to tell somebody, hey, if you're getting into the hobby, let me give you a couple pieces of advice. Why don't you give them a piece of advice about picking fish, a piece of advice, and I'll recap these: picking fish, where to buy fish from or what to look for in fish, and then how to design a pond. So the first one, what should people look for when they're looking for a fish? What's just one general characteristic you say, this is pretty important?
Buy Japanese koi.
Why?
They have the gene that breeders has been working on over generations. It's not, when we are buying koi, we're not just looking at now. We are also buying the future. So we want to buy koi that's beautiful and that will become more beautiful as it grows. So buy Japanese koi I would say, if I'm going to give one piece of advice, that would be the one.
So why would it make any difference if I'm buying a fish from India, or if I'm buying one from someplace else in Asia or even Korea, or if I buy a fish that's bred in the other part of the United States? Why would it make any difference? Why Japan?
Well, I would say it's history and the tradition.
Okay.
This is something that breeders in Japan, they've been doing over generations. They've been breeding koi for so many years, and they learn the lesson and they pass that experience, the lesson, expertise, hands down to the next generations. And of course, breeding itself is really easy. All you need a male and female. But what they do it's not that simple. They breed millions of eggs and they go through culling so many times, and they just keep only the top of the crops. And they know how to find those top of the crops and then, and raise them.
Yeah.
So it's not like something that you can learn overnight. This is something that they learn over generations. And that really makes Japanese koi different from the others.
That's awesome. It's kind of like an Antwerp diamond. I mean, everybody knows diamonds that come from Antwerp or even wines that come from France. There's places where people have what we call tribal knowledge, and you learn it, and it's very, very different. It's ingrained in them.
Exactly.
That's awesome. So I have purchased fish, not from you. I'm sorry, I had some fish, and the fish came and they lost color. They weren't as good as they needed to be. The Benny went away. the body conformation wasn't there. The fish ended up looking like a football. Does that ever happen with fish that come from Japan?
I would say, yes, it could happen, but chances are very little. You know, that's why Japanese breeders have been working so hard. They like to breed beautiful koi. They like to breed koi that can maintain or improve the beauty for so many years, so that customers can enjoy for so many years.
Outstanding. So let me ask you, when you go to Japan, how many breeders do you buy from?
Last year, I purchased koi from 50 breeders.
50 breeders?
Right.
So obviously every one of those breeders has their own specialties, their own everything. I mean, I was in Japan with you. You don't see 50 breeders. You'd have to be seeing like 5 or 10 per day, which you can't do that. They're all. How long are you in Japan when you go over there to buy?
I usually spend 3 weeks in the harvest season, and of course, even after that, I go back like once every 2 months or so. Just go back to the breeders. Always try to, because they harvest new koi from ponds every day during the season. So you just have to keep going back.
Okay, perfect. So obviously with being a second generation of doing koi wholesale with buying and selling koi and all that, and you do sell wholesale as well, right?
I do wholesale as well, yes.
So you do full wholesale as well as retail.
Correct.
When you go out and you buy fish, tosai, you obviously don't pick your tosai. You just tell them you want a whole bunch of them, right?
I do both, actually.
Really?
If I have the relationship, then if they know what we want, then sometimes we just buy the whole pond.
Yep.
Or sometimes we just have to go through handpick.
So you actually handpick tosai
we do both, yes.
Wow. Do me a favor, Taro. Why should anyone consider, or why should somebody buy fish from Kodama? Why should they buy from you?
Why they should buy koi from me? Okay, so there are two things basically. One is a trust. You know, this is a living creature business, and my father started this business more than 50 years ago. And if they do not trust us, you know, we cannot stay in business this long. So that's definitely a critical part. You know,
Absolutely.
with the trust, you know, that trust is one thing, and another thing is a quality that we can pick. You know, my father has been picking quality koi. He's been winning grand champions in Japan. You know, here I am in the United States, you know, just going, you know, talking about the grand champions that my customer won at the Kodama Koi show, for example. You know, my father picked, I picked, you know, my brother, my team. We are here to pick a quality koi for our customers. That, again, you know, coming back to the trust in Kodama Koi Farm. So
Outstanding.
Trust and quality, that really makes us different from the others.
That is perfect. I couldn't agree with you more. So one last thing before we wrap up. Obviously, when people go out and they're picking koi and they're doing all this stuff, and you share a lot of information, if I wanted you to pick fish for me, if I said, you know what, I realize you have a lot of fish up on your website, but I want something more. I want something that I don't see on your website right now. Obviously, all the fish aren't on your website. Can I contact you? Could you personally shop for me in Japan, even if I'm not with you?
Absolutely. I'll be your personal shopper. Just email me, text me, however you want to reach me. Just let me know what you're looking for. You can describe what you're looking for. You can just send me a picture as an example, and then, you know, I'll be your personal shopper.
Now, when you go to Japan, how many people go with you?
Like my customers, or like?
How many staff go with you?
I usually have at least 1, 2, 3 others with me, so that I can cover the whole breeders.
Outstanding. And then are you planning on being in Japan for another 3 weeks to 4 weeks this year?
Well, this year actually I'll be there longer. 3 weeks for sure in October, and at least a few more weeks in November, and another few more weeks in December. Wow. So I like to be there more days than any other dealers.
And if I said I wanted some special fish and you didn't find it in the first couple of weeks of October, is there a chance you'd find it on your next trip or your next trip? Would
Absolutely.
You just keep... Okay.
I'll keep that on my list, and then I'll continue my work to find your dream koi.
And then sometimes you were mentioning to me that sometimes they harvest fish later in the year. So like last year I showed up the last week of October, but they still harvest fish in November.
Even in November, yes.
So there's a chance that even if I didn't see it, it could be coming out of a pond at a
Yes.
later date.
And sometimes the breeders are kind of hiding somewhere else. So that, when you go there in October, you won't see them. But when you go there in November, December, sometimes, we can just go back of the building and
Wow,
find
well,
them.
that's
So
okay.
there's many ways to find them.
Outstanding. So the one thing is I hope that helped all of you, kind of giving you an idea of what Taro goes through and how he buys fish. If you guys have any questions, do me a favor. You can reach Taro right here on his website. And then last but not least, send in your buying list, your shopping list. It doesn't mean you need to buy a fish, but it will give you an opportunity that you could have a shopper in Japan, even if you're not there, helping you pick out the best fish in the market. Hope everybody has a wonderful year. Enjoy your harvest season coming up, and I hope you all have a wonderful fall season. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Elliot.
Yeah.